Once again, our business is under attack. It's always somebody trying to tell people how to do their job. People who have the microphones, people, whether they are podcasters, radio hosts, TV show hosts, always somebody trying to tell them how to do their job. Today, we start with the Dallas Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones was sitting there and, as usual, goes on his sports radio show. And the host called him out. They asked, like, pretty much, what's going on. The Cowboys lost, you could say, a big game to the Detroit Lions. The Lions are Super Bowl contenders. Ooh, that sounds weird. And they got smoked. Like, I didn't watch the game live. I was on my way to New York. And when I got to the hotel, I looked at the score and I'm like, wait, is my eyes playing tricks on me? I didn't know if that was like plays the penalties or some other stat. It was like 42 or maybe it was 47-9 or something. Whatever the score was a lot to a little. And Jerry Jones got called out about it and he threatened the host. I thought that was absolutely disgusting. When you think about what media is for, right? People, and I see this all the time, especially during baseball season. Ravens and Orioles Twitter are very good for this. They say, oh, you guys don't ask the tough questions, right? They're quick to say that people don't ask the tough questions. And they do this in WWE media as well, right? And the thought process is that people don't want to give up their access. They don't want to ask, why did such and such happen? In the fear that they won't be allowed back in the room. Well, in this case, Jerry Jones pretty much demonstrated why some people act that way, or why it's perceived that some people act that way. Because he literally threatened, said, I can get somebody else to do this. And, you guys don't have to ask me about what's going wrong. So I know a lot of people talk about it, but this really made me think. Is it time for Jerry Jones to just be done with the NFL? And here's what I'm saying. I hear all the talk, shout out to my homegirl, Ashley Baker of Sports After Dark, who will always go on record and say, fire GM, fire Jerry as the GM. I know you can't necessarily change and force people out of ownership unless you do like Donald Sterling. But I'm wondering, has Jerry Jones outgrown the NFL? And is it time for the NFL to move on without him? Let me explain. I think that we all know he shouldn't be a GM, but I don't even think he should be a prominent face. He's the face of the ownership groups. If you really think about it, right? When you think of sports owners, not just football, but definitely football, you think of Jerry Jones, you think of Robert Kraft, you think of Hank Steinbrenner, you think of Jeannie Buss. Back in the day, it was like Red Auerbach and Dr. Jerry Buss, George Steinbrenner. You think about these owners, and I'm starting to wonder, Jerry's very hands-on. Now, we heard like with Robert Kraft, and there's a reason why Robert Kraft has 6 Super Bowls, but he put people in position. He let them do their job, right? Jerry Jones feels like he can be the GM. And all intents and purposes, okay, sure, in 1989, he made the moves and put things in place that would lead to the Cowboys dynasty. Time has moved on. It's not that way anymore. You know what I mean? And he hasn't been able to recapture that magic. It's like being in a bad relationship that should be over, but it's like, I bought you the 95 BMW fully loaded. Guess what? We're in 2024. Your taste in cars has not grown. Yes, he paid Dak Prescott, mainly because I think he had to. But, Dak's performance and the people around him, that's to be debated. Cowboys are always going to make money. They have a loyal fan base. Hey, I'm one of them. I used to be one of them, I should say. If you would have asked me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I was one of the biggest Dallas Cowboy fans. And I would always get a lot of heat. Like, how can you be a Cowboys and a Ravens fan? And my thing was, I grew up, the Cowboys brought me into football, and then Baltimore got a team. So, but And I used to be a huge fan of Jerry Jones. Now that kneeling stuff, and you going for the flag, that's a different story. But I think what he's doing here is absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's time that, but I mean, how do you get this person out of place, right? It's time to move on. I think Jerry Jones has, the league and Jerry Jones are going different places, but I think Jerry Jones is a prominent owner, a prominent person in the league. Those days are over. You know what I mean? And like I said, it really sucks that he called out those people, but it do bring a bigger conversation. He can't handle the pressure. And I think, quite frankly, it's time for there to be a NFL-less Jerry Jones. Innovative on the business side, fine. But as far as everything else, Before we get started with today's show, I just want to remind you that you can save 10% on your order with Symphony of Balloons, a luxury balloon company that also offers a 360 camera. Just simply mention you heard about them on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings.
I'm excited to talk more about my background.
Also worked in so many places of media, which you will find out more. Two friends who like wrestling that talk about wrestling. To now, let's start a podcast. And
grassroots style, the way me and Brian have done it. Every opportunity is an opportunity.
Kind of makes me want to step my game up a little bit more just because the space is so oversaturated. Anyone can start a podcast.
I live in New York City, so there's, opportunity everywhere in New York. Like, everyone's doing something. You go to a bar for happy hour, the bartender has a business.
And you apply that same strategy to network. You being very intentional. Find your why. What's the reason? Then do it.
Podcasting allowed me to break out of my comfort zone, to break out of my shell.
This is 6HM Productions.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode, Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Brian H. Waters here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Today, we got a few things that's going to ruffle some feathers. I know a lot of people are not ready for these conversations. But, I mentioned Jerry Jones at the top of the show. Also want to get into, this could be some sports talk, a lot of sports talk today. And then a little bit of politics. But I want to jump right into the Tom Brady rules. Tom Brady has now been officially sworn in, whatever. He's official minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Boy, that takes some getting used to. It's been Oakland Raiders, Los Angeles Raiders, Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas. But here's the thing. We all know he's a broadcaster, color commentator for Fox Sports, got the bag just because he's Tom Brady. But now, if y'all looked at the rules, he's not allowed to criticize other teams. He can't come to production meetings. So that leads me to ask the question to the people. How do y'all feel about Tom Brady on broadcast? How do y'all feel about Tom Brady's commentary? I know when Tony Romo first became a commentator, he was calling out the plays before they happened and said, oh, they're going for this right here, boom. And everybody was so fascinated with it. I was like, oh man, did you hear Romo? And I think a lot of the fascination with Romo came because we didn't see Tony Romo win a Super Bowl. Quite frankly, I believe he only won one playoff game. So maybe people thought his quarterback knowledge was a little bit limited. Jason Witten called him the greatest Cowboys quarterback ever. Most people will disagree and go with either Troy Aikman or Roger Staubach. That's a different story. But as a color commentator, he captivated everybody. Then I saw little people starting to be more critical of him, because he was different from Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck had this, I love their chemistry. I'm a huge fan of both of them. I'm a fan of that duo. But I wonder, how do people feel about Brady? Because I've been going through a little bit, seeing people evaluate his performance. And, I'm interested to know, how do y'all feel? Do y'all feel he's good? Do he need pre-production meetings? Shout out to Kaz. I saw he posted a tweet that he got the ultimate show up and wing it job. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. And I want to know from the people, how do y'all feel about Tom Brady? We're going to stick with sports. Let's go with Aaron Rodgers gets what he wants again. Devonte Adams was traded from the Las Vegas Raiders. Almost like, I feel like he got traded, then it was announced that Brady happened, but he got traded from Las Vegas Raiders. He is now a member of the New York Jets. And everybody's excited. Everybody's pumped up. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. Now, for one, I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan, not just because of politics, COVID, all that stuff. I mean, it is what it is. I've never been a fan of Aaron Rodgers because when I was a Dallas Cowboys fan, he cooked them. Every time I turned on, it was the playoffs. We all know Dez caught it. And then my last year of being a full-time invested in the Cowboys, he threw that ball right to the sideline. That was perfect. And then Mason Crosby, which Skip Bayless, the Mason crossbar, hit the field goal. But I don't know how good the Jets are going to be. How do y'all feel? Can the Jets turn this thing around? Let's look up their record as we go into NFL standings. The Jets are 2-4, so not necessarily behind. I mean, as much as I hate this new NFL format, I used to see 4 losses. If you had 12 wins playoffs, most times you win a division. But now they add the extra game. So those certain numbers don't stick with me. That's why I don't like the whole changing of the guard, the changing of the format for the NFL, right? 12, it was easy. 16 games, 13-3, 12-4, 10-6, 11-5. You knew what type of team it was. Now I got to replace the numbers. It's just a set of numbers that was always grouped together since I have been really familiar with football. I want to invite you to check out my mother's book, The Tears Behind My Smile. This book is a tribute to my uncle, but it's about not only celebrating his life, but it's also a reminder of how family and true love can endure even in the face of life's greatest challenges. So make sure you check out this book. You can find it on Amazon. The link is in the bio. The Tears Behind My Smile by Robin Waters.
Welcome back to Where WWE Meets Pop Culture, and it is me, Queen PR. We get into all of this past week's wrestling and pop culture news, all the top rope tea. Thank you for blessing us with these photos of you this dress, honey boo, phew, with the hot emoji. I can say, she said hi, I said hi, and I was like, oh my God, that engagement was crazy. And it was just such an easy opening. And she was like, right? So she also wore a Fashion Nova dress, but the way it hugged her, I'm like, yes, queen with some Steve Madden heels. Shout out to my millennials if y'all know about the Steve Madden. Deep purple. And these are one of those occasions where like the whole look works, because even I feel like the beard even goes with the look. Like, it seems random at first, but then it kind of makes all the sense in the world. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is not the first time this happened.
All right, so moving on. Let's talk some positive football. How about those Ravens? Who got it better than us? Season started off slow. We know. 2 wins that should have been wins, but you make adjustments. Now, I was on Twitter and I was saying it's time to get rid of John Harbaugh. I was over it. I'm still lukewarm, but the Ravens are turning around. They've been doing what they're supposed to do. Riding the wave of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Can 2 people split the MVP on the same team? Somebody looked that up in history, right? Has that ever been done before? We know it's usually a quarterback award, but my goodness, Derrick Henry been the ultimate closer. And here's the thing, something key. Zay Flowers was on a morning show, and they said when they watched the game, they realized he had 111 yards against the Commanders in the first half. They said, he bound for 300 yards. And they said, how did you feel not getting the touches as much pass opportunities in the second half? And he said, man, you got to feed the king. So that's what they did. They fed the king. Derrick Henry closed the game, the ultimate closer. And this is going to be an exciting time. It's a great time to be a Ravens football fan. They got a game on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lamar Jackson versus Baker Mayfield once again. Now, we all thought that matchup was going to be Baltimore-Cleveland for years to come. Clearly, it wasn't. But this will be certainly fun to watch. And they're a fun football team. And I'm confident. I do believe this team can face the Chiefs in the championship game again and beat them this time. I said last year, or earlier this year, I said, it's the first game of the season. Wasn't too excited about it. I know that with the Ravens, they got to gel. That's always, if you look at Lamar Jackson's 2 MVP seasons, both years the Ravens was a 1 seed. Both of those times, they had starts, but then November, December, to the moon. And that's what I think we get this year. I think this year the Ravens finish the story. Folks, let's go on to the ladies, because there's a lot of uncomfortable things around here. A lot of ladies making men feel small, I see when I scroll up and down the internet waves. Shout out to Glorilla. New album just dropped. I like it. Y'all make sure y'all check it out. I want to talk about Angel Reese, though. Angel Reese, the forward for the Chicago Sky, national champion at LSU, Baltimore native. She recently was making the airwaves for a lot of things. Now, we all know she has her podcast, Unapologetically Angel. So we hear more from her. But the thing is, 2 things that was said this week that made me say, oh, y'all just really hate this woman. First off, she talked about the WNBA salary doesn't supplement her income, right? She talked about her rent being $8,000. And everybody's like, why don't you just live somewhere cheaper? This, that, and the other. What people don't understand is she's $1 million brand. Here's the thing. I'm not going to tell anybody where they should live. I'm not pocket watching. So I know a lot of people have all these things. Well, she make all this money. She don't need, if she don't even making that much money, she shouldn't be living here. Clearly, everybody's missing the point. Clearly, like I said, $1 million brand, right? She's made it clear. She has endorsement deals. That's when she was talking about whether or not she should go to the WNBA or stay in college. She was getting the NIL deals, so she got money. Hence why she can afford where she stay at. But why that became a story and everybody thought to have think pieces and shit, I don't know. Speaking of which, I'm gonna stick there with her because I saw this dude. I'm scrolling and I don't remember the name. Quite frankly, don't care to at this point. But this guy was talking about her and he was calling her out saying, oh, she talked about she's sexualized and this, that, and the other. But now she's doing Victoria's Secret and she's doing the runway. Like, are we doing this again, right? Nobody has a right to tell a woman what they can and cannot wear, right? So he's telling her she's not a role model because she's doing this. Who gives anyone the right to police outfits? You know what I mean? So shout out to her and Asia Wilson. They were on the Wall Street Journal. So while people out there making their think pieces, Angel Reese and Asia Wilson, Wall Street Journal, magazines. I put, shout out to Women's Sports and Fashion, posting a picture. I said, that's over thousands and thousands of rebounds. Because we both know both of those ladies, when that ball go up, they going to grab the rock. So I love where the WNBA is. I love the movement. Speaking of which, as I record on Friday, if you're watching this on Saturday, I hope we're saying congratulations to the New York Liberty for winning the WNBA championship. But if we're not, we'll say good luck to the New York Liberty in Game 5 of the WNBA championship. But we got to talk about Sabrina. Cold! That shot? Did you see it? I'm sitting there watching the game, and I got up from my seat. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all right, Sabrina was having a bad game. She was missing a lot of shots. And not bad, like, but in the time of the comeback, and it would get close, she wasn't bringing it closer. But when it counted the most, she hit the loudest shot heard. Dare she say the biggest shot of her career to that point. And it was amazing. Shout out to the WNBA. The finals have been incredible to watch. Personally, I said before, I'm rooting for the Liberty. Shout out to Big Ellie. By the way, did y'all see the Minnesota mascot go at Big Ellie? The Minnesota mascot, who was with the father of Courtney Williams. I think his name's Don, because Ellie pressed up on Don. And now the mascot had been tweeting. Ellie said, look, you've been tweeting at me, but I heard you. So, man, this has been fun. This has been a fun WNBA season, a WNBA finals. And what better way to cap it off than a New York Liberty getting their first championship? Baseball wise, the Mets prior cooked. They are down 3-1 to the almighty Los Angeles Dodgers. While the New York Yankees are literally one home run away from being one game away from the World Series. What can you say? Tip your hat off to the moment. I think his name is Travis Fry. But yeah, the guy, home run, boom, loudest shot in Cleveland. Goodness knows, Cleveland could use some glory, huh? But I'm going to take a quick break. And when I get back, we're going to talk Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and Barack Obama, and more. Here's a message from, a few people, a few other content you need to check out. Ladies and gentlemen, are you in the gym every week? Are you looking to kind of keep yourself cool while you work up a nasty sweat? Well, I got the best thing for you. Cooling bands, bandanas, cooling towels, and so much more. Go to Vertical Athletics, get your favorite team in MLS or MLB, or guess what? Now they have a custom option so you can upload your own logo and you can save 10% at checkout when you enter the code Brian H. Waters. Go to verticalathletics.com, use the code Brian H. Waters to save 10% on some of your best cooling gear. Are you a podcaster who is looking to share clips from your show in the simplest way possible? Well, I have the best solution, and that's Opus Clip. Opus Clip allows you to take the link to your show, upload it, and then they will clip off some of the best moments. And it allows you to edit it, change the captions, change the colors, and they also give you a viral score so you know which clip can potentially generate more buzz for your show. So, if you're looking to do that, click the link in the bio, sign up for Opus Clip, and go viral with some of the best content from your show. All right, and we're back as we get ready to get into the last portion of this show. Folks, first off, let me start with this. I don't know if y'all got a chance to check out Skip Bayless on BarStool. Check it out. I have always been real about being a fan of Skip Bayless. And I think a lot of people, he's easy to hate in media, especially if he doesn't like your team, or he'll say whatever he wants, say how he feels. But what I've always liked about him is he's unapologetically who he is. This is somebody who told their wife on their first date, you will always be number 2. And then you learn like he'll have 2 big screens and a phone. That's how he watches 3 games at a time. And he wake up, watch games. He work out watching sports. He's very dedicated to his diet. And, his time at ESPN, I got a chance to meet him a few times, had a conversation with him a few times. I've been very vocal about that. And like I said, I always appreciate him. But that was a good interview. He definitely talked about what happened with Shannon Sharpe and how supreme debate. And sometimes you get in a supreme debate and you catch feelings, you can't go back. And I thought that was interesting as somebody who's gotten in debates on shows. Sometimes there has been times where it's like, ooh, is that a little personal? And I think that's the thing, hearing about that, learning about it is, he said he's able to like say what he got to say, go to the side during a commercial break, come back and let it go. And I think that's the thing a lot of people can't do. And people do take stuff personally, especially on air if somebody don't agree with them. But let's continue. first off, Donald Trump is getting ready to do the Undertaker's podcast. It's going to have people feeling a certain type of way. Not surprised. We know Undertaker has been very vocal on Mark Calloway about supporting law enforcement. And, it's like no surprise that he's a Trump supporter. And I think what happens a lot of times with Trump supporters is they like to hide behind the cross being that they're such Bible following Christians, like they follow it by every single book, right? When all actuality, they misread one of the biggest lessons and one of the biggest commandments is loving, love, because they a lot of times fill it with hate or judgment, and we're not supposed to judge. But that's the way I see it. And people will say, well, this is a good person, but they support Trump. Well, it's not so much. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with racism, but his policies. And that leads me to what President Barack Obama said. He called out some voters, some black men. Black men who don't want to vote for Trump. And he basically said, don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, and said, y'all don't want to listen to a woman. And I agree. I think that's a lot of the case. I don't think Barack Obama was wrong for saying that. Everybody's been using filters for so long, especially him. When Barack Obama was in office, he had to use filters. But the filters, the gloves will come off, folks. And I'm happy about that. The gloves will come off. So now we're going to see Kamala Harris continues to dominate. She's continuing making rounds, doing non-traditional media, like I said last week, doing these black podcasts, doing these black TV shows, Roland Martin, Charlemagne, All the Smoke, even going on the Call Her Daddy podcast, going to different places. And it shows the evolution of time. And I think now Donald Trump is like, oh, well, I got to do the same thing. I'm going to go on the Undertaker's podcast. I believe he may have even went on Joe Rogan, but why not go on Roland Martin, So this is very interesting. But I'll say this, get out and vote. You have the opportunity, you have the power, you could change the course of history. Get out and vote. People died for you to have that right. That's what you do your part. The ballots, you could do early ballot and mail-in ballot, or you can go in person, but go out and vote. So that'll do it for this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Yes, I've hit on everything. You know what always happens, to be honest with you? I'll say I'm gonna talk about this, and this, right? Then I'm like, cool, I'm finished. And then you know what happens? I find something else while I'm in post-production. But it is what it is, folks. Until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. Remember, do not let anybody place a ceiling above your success. Oh, also, and before I go, shout out to the Ringside Club, my boy AO over there. This shirt, No Flows Barred. Make sure you check them out. Check out the family. They doing great stuff. I love the production. I love the quality. So y'all make sure y'all check it out. Until the next time, do not let anyone place a ceiling above your success. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support this podcast by wearing a t-shirt, whether it's the one that says Breaking Through Glass Ceilings or the one that says No Ceilings Above Success, simply go to foryourwear.com. Also, you can support some of your other favorite podcast and content creators, including those Wrestling Girls, Seahawk, and the Wrestling Club. And you can support some of your favorite independent wrestlers, including Jay Bougie, Trisha Dora, Chaz the Don. Shoot, all of Pure Ignorance is on there. So go on foryourwear.com, go under the personalities, you'll find Brian H. Waters, and buy a t-shirt. And remember, I'll give you a shout out on the show.